Hi guys, so in this Google meeting, we will talk about the East Asian English and let us share our perspective about these three main topic that we will have today. So, who are gonna share first?
Me. So, based on my own understanding, Englishization in South Asia is how the English language works in that particular country or the southern part of the Asia. So, the language was brought to Indians in the 17th century by the British when the South Asian British colonized the south part of the Asia. So, we all know that the British is the mother in the inner circle. The British is the inner circle in which the what do you call this, the parent language in which they are the colonizers or whatsoever. So one of the countries that is colonized by the British is the Indians. So let's proceed. So in my own perspective about the South Asian status is that they are having their own phonology, morphology, and syntax. Same as our variety of English, we're also having a hard time of pronouncing those English words. But we are having a process on that, on how the English language works. So the next one is South Asian attitudes towards English. Well, it's not that special because just like the other country, they are also having their morphology, syntax, and phonology. However, there is a one thing that it is not changeable, which is their religion. South Asians can't even bear to change their religion in the name of respecting and giving it value. So who wants to share next?
Actually, I would like to add up on what you are telling me today. Obvious from the above discussion, English occupies a very special position in the lives of South Asian. As had been often said, English is one of the languages South Asians speak in. As used in South Asia, English has been activized to such extent that it is considered not a foreign or alien language. Creative writing in English is at stake, and as discussed by culture, has gone to a process of decolonization. So, in the end, Asian countries to introduce English language instruction in the grade schools, where earlier practice used to be introduced English at the junior high school level. So it indicates how Indian learners learn the language English. So that would be all. Who would like to present next?
So I guess it's my turn now. And so the Englishization in South Asia is that English is not just only the source of lexical borrowings and novel construction, but also made models available for the new development of new literacy genre. And also, grammatical are represented, and Hindu Urdu is used for stylistic effect. And code mixed varieties of South Asian languages represent the highly innovative to them in all aspects. So, and also, in my opinion about South Asian attitudes towards English, is that one thing remains clear here: the functional domain of English in South Asia have actually expanded rather than shrunk. And the attitude of South Asians towards English amount to what Katru said terms a linguistic schizophrenia. Three categories of opinion continue to make themselves apparent: the westernization or slash technological progress view, and the absolute rejection view, and lastly is the a somewhat neutral position. And lastly, my perspective about status of South Asian English is that English has remained the foreign language in India for the next several decades, and it became a member of the South Asian English res- repertoire of languages, and Kachru defines modern CAE as the educated variety of South Asian English. Thank you. So, who will gonna come next?
In my opinion, Englishization in South Asia
English language in South Asia has developed from a contest colonial legacy into an asset within the linguistic ecology of the region, both internationally and pan-regionally. English has become a firmly entrenched South Asian language with distinctive characteristics, effectively the third largest variety of English worldwide. So the main focus is on English in India as the largest state to emerge out of the former British Raj and arguably the historical input variety to other South Asian Englishes. South Asian Englishes, the notion of Indian English as the regional epicenter is also taken into account. So, in South Asian attitudes towards English were given preferences by socially aspiring Indians, native attitudes to English education and culture were frequently positive in. So, in status of South Asian English, South Asian English is a very interesting and dynamic phenomenon. Interesting because English has become one of the languages of communication for South Asian, and as such, a distinctive form of South Asian English has emerged and dynamic because the English language is constantly evolving and changing in South Asia, as it is constantly being used to express nuances of South Asian cultures and sensibilities. So, South Asian English is not to be understood as indicative of linguistic homogeneity in this variety nor of a uniform linguistic competence. It refers to several broad regional varieties such as Indian English, Lankan English, and Pakistani English. So, who's next to share?
Anglicization in South Asia. I honestly believe that English language has become a firmly entrenched South Asian language with distinctive characteristics, effectively the third largest variety of English worldwide. And the main focus here is on English in India, as the largest state to emerge out of the former British Raj and arguably the historical input variety to other South Asian English. Variety of English exists in subcontinent. It includes Pakistan English and Sri Lanka English. This region was once colonized by the British, hence English is an established second language. Next, South Asian attitudes toward English. The attitudes of South Asian towards English amount to what Kachra terms a linguistic schizophrenia. It categorized into three, namely Westernization, technological progress view, the absolute rejection view, and the neutral position, in which this English language would be retained as one of the foreign language but not in a competition with local languages. Lastly, the status of South Asian English. The status of English language in South Asia nowadays is spoken as a second language by amount 20% of our total population. English remained as a foreign language in India for the next decade until it became a member of South Asian repertoire of language. Moreover, English has retained and strengthened its place in the South Asian linguistic language.
In my perspective, Anglicization in South Asia, the use of South Asian code mixed breeds represent very innovative and creative possibilities. Furthermore, South Asian attitudes towards English as a visible number of schools are considering how English should be positioned in South Asian language communities. Lastly, the status of South Asian English. English status in South Asia remained a foreign language in India for the following decades. However, it became increasingly popular in the social and political climate. After formally becoming independent in 1947, it becomes a member of the South Asian Linguistic Refor- Repertoire. As part of Indian status, Coxtrue defines modern South Asian English as a literate variant of South Asian English. The definition of Coxtrue is in some way identical to all major English variants. British English, for example, means educated variants codified or indicated in grammars and dictionaries rather than in many geographical or social dialects. That, that's what American English is called, and it refers to literate standard Chicano English, not African or nor American.
In this deliverance, I will state my standpoint about the South Asian English. So in the Englishization in South Asia, English has been added to preceding empire like Sanskrit and Persian, wherein English has not only influenced the languages of South Asia as a source of lexical borrowings and novel constructions, but the indulgence of grammatical influence and code mixing. The usage of code mixed varieties of South Asian languages represents the highly innovative and creative potential. So next is South Asian attitudes towards English. The South Asian clearly emphasize and put their attention in the awareness of English as a language where its function have expanded rather than shrunk. So that's like what Isa May has said. So in the Constitution of India in January 26, 1965, it is the date in which English would no longer be used as an official language. Despite on the controversial topics, the dominant status of English had become a status for the visualization and division of English language as an indigenous languages. A visible number of schools has a thought about how English should be situated within the municipality of South Asian languages. And last for the status of South Asian language. In accordance with my standpoint, for several decades, focusing on India alone, English remained as a foreign language. So according to B. Kachru, he coined the modern South Asian English, or also known as Sa-A-E or Sa-A, as the educated variety of South Asian English, to which similarly it is identical to how the British English and American English is being described. It is branched out of seven major uses of superposed languages in South Asia, wherein English is a significant participant in six, namely as a lingua franca in government, education, literature, influence, and development. The first four uses are transparent. By influence is meant its impact on the local languages and literary genres and linguistic structure, and as the source for new vocabulary, and by development is meant it is uses in areas such as management, technical access, governmental services, and so on. So next.
So, from my perspective about Anglicization in South Asia, English plays a major role in many spheres of life in Southeast Asia, so including those involve academic, diplomatic, and economic pursuits. So, however, the Southeast Asian region presents a more diverse compared to South Asia in that some parts of it have institutionalized Englishes. English was introduced as a result of colonialism in all this Southeast Asia. So South Asian English is very interesting and dynamic phenomenon. It is interesting because English has become one of the languages of communication of South Asian. South Asian attitudes towards English. So education in English was introduced into the street settlement from the early 19th century. But the British experience in India, where the spread of English education led to the rise of nationalism, resulted in British being cautious in introducing English education widely in Malaysia. So lastly, the status of South Asian English. English is no longer a colonial import. Throughout the region, English is the language of education, culture, business, and above all, regional cooperation. So that's all. Thank you.